If you're trying to decide between the Polaroid Go 2 and the Polaroid Go 3, I'm about to make the decision easier for you. Because on paper, these cameras look nearly identical, but Polaroid has made some changes that may actually sway you one way or the other, and some of them you won't notice until you're holding the photos or the cameras in your hand. I've put both cameras side by side, compared the specs, and shot comparison shots so you can see the differences and the similarities between the two. This video is going to be two parts. One where I talk about all the differences and similarities I found between the two cameras, and one where I actually show you comparison photos. I'll have timestamps in the description below if you want to jump around. Alright, let's jump in. Now let's start with what you can see. Side by side, the Go 3 is slightly bigger than the Go 2. The Go 3 is also about 13 grams heavier, which isn't a huge difference, but I could feel it when I held both in my hand. I'll throw up a graphic on the dimensions for both cameras if you want to see the exact differences. There are two visible changes between the Go 2 and Go 3 besides the color: the front of the cameras and the viewfinder tunnels. The Go 3 has a reconfigured face. There is less of a lip, the flash and the light meter got repositioned, and the lens housing is now rectangular instead of round. One thing I didn't catch until I actually had them both in hand was the Go 3 lens is noticeably more recessed than the Go 2. Just another Chris pointed this out in one of his lives, and he thought it would help cut down on the lens flare. I think he's right. That deeper set means the lens is better protected from stray light hitting it at an angle, which is a real thing when you're shooting outdoors. There are some cosmetic differences between the two. For one, the logo placement is different. The Go 3 comes in 5 colors, while the Go 2 comes in 4. For the Go 3, you've got the purple, teal, and light blue, which are two-tone, and then you have a white and black one. For the Go 2, you have a blue and purple, which are all one tone, and you also have a white and black. The viewfinder is also larger on the Go 3, so it is easier to see through. Speaking of the viewfinder, let's talk about what I'm going to call the viewfinder tunnel. It is slightly longer and bigger on the Go 3, that's what she said, and as a glasses girl, I appreciate that. When I hold it up to my eye, I don't have to reposition it to see the entire frame. When I shoot with the Go 2, I have to push up a little on my glasses. Both cameras have a selfie mirror, which aren't really mirrors, but reflective covers for the viewfinders that allow you to see yourself. Now, looking at the top of the cameras, you can see the shutter button is still on the top for the Go 3. However, the flash button has been moved from the top to the back for the Go 3. On the Go 2, the on and off button is black and next to the little LED screen. On the Go 3, the on and off button is now the color of the camera and below the flash button and LED screen. This kind of explains why I kept trying to turn my Go on and off with the little black button when I did my unboxing. It isn't a deal breaker or anything, but you will have to break that muscle memory if you're used to shooting with the Go 2. An additional difference that you probably won't notice until you turn the Go 3 on is the 1 to 3 lines on the LED screen when you turn the camera on. The 3 lines represent the battery life of the Go 3. I'm assuming this is meant to replace the charging indicator light near the Go 2's charging port, since there is no such indicator light on the Go 3. Another difference you will notice on the back of the camera is now there are 2 wrist strap holders on the Go 3 instead of the one on the right hand side of the Go 2. I think this is a nice touch in case you prefer your strap to be under the viewfinder instead of opposite it. The Go 2 says it's made from 30% recycled material, but the Go 3 doesn't mention it. That doesn't necessarily mean that the Go 3 isn't also made from 30% recycled material, but if it is interesting they decided not to mention it this time. One of the most noticeable changes, besides the body change, is the lens. Okay, this is where things might get interesting, and honestly, this section may make or break your decision. The Go 2 has an f9 to f42 aperture with a 51mm focal length and a 48-degree field of view. The Go 3 has an aperture of f14.4 to f32 with a 63mm focal length and a 38-degree field of view. In simplest terms, that means the Go 3's lowest aperture lets in less light than the Go 2's, and the Go 3 has a more zoomed in look. In theory, that means the Go 2 should be better in low light situations than the Go 3, but the Go 3 may have less a chance to overexpose in brighter scenes. The more zoomed in look is a good update if you enjoy taking portraits and selfies with the Go. However, the trade-off is you lose some of the wide angle versatility that is nice for landscapes and group photos, or when you just want more in your frame. Polaroid 3 claims the Go 3 lens is sharper than the one in the Go 2. In some cases I can kind of see it, but in others not so much. I don't think there's a consistent, noticeable difference between the sharpness of the two. When we go through the comparison photos, let me know if you see any major differences. Both cameras use the same vacuum discharge tube flash system, but the Polaroid says the Go 3 flash is stronger and handles indoor and low light better. I'll show you some examples in the comparison section where you can see how the flash handles different light situations. The Go 3 also has a faster max shutter speed at 1/500th of a second versus the Go 2's 1/300th of a second. What that means is, in theory, the Go 3 handles bright sunlight better. If you shot the Go 2 outdoors on a really sunny day and gotten washed out photos, that may be the shutter speed's limitation showing up. The Go 3's faster shutter gives you more headroom there. Now for the honest part. Neither camera has exposure compensation. This is one of the biggest complaints I've heard about the Go 2, and I need you to know this before you buy either one. Exposure compensation is that option on the bigger Polaroid cameras that lets you tell the camera, make this photo darker or make this photo lighter. The Go cameras don't have it. Alright, here's something that actually flummoxed me a little bit when I unboxed the Go 3. The Go 2 comes with a USB-C charging cable in the box. The Go 3 does not. Now I'm being a bit hyperbolic here, but I was surprised that it wasn't included. Now I know most of us have USB-C cables everywhere at this point. I know I do, but here's why it matters. If you're buying this as a gift for someone, or if this is your first Polaroid and you don't already have a USB-C cable, you're gonna open the box and realize you need to buy a cable just to charge your camera. Also worth noting, the Go 2 is compatible with Polaroid Go Gen's filters, those little colored filter packs you can snap on the front. The Go 3 is not. Both cameras use the same Go film, both get up to 15 packs per charge, both charge via USB-C cable, both have double exposure and self-timer modes. The film door mechanism is the same, and the overall user experience of loading film and shooting is basically unchanged between the Go 3 and the Go 2. So, if you already know how to use the Go 2, there's basically zero learning curve with the Go 3. You just gotta remember the change in the button layout. Alright, so we've talked about the specs and build differences. Now, let's actually look at some photos. So the first photo I want to share, or the first photo comparison I want to share is double exposure. And this is for Miss Pam R, one of my subscribers. She reminded me to do a double exposure because I always forget with my cameras. So on the left you have the Go 2 and on the right you have the Go 3. And that's kind of how it will be for all future photos. So one of the things I messed up on the shot was I didn't quite stand in the exact same spot. Part of that was because I had to go kind of far away to do the double exposure between the two photos, but it's fine. So as you can see on the left hand side of the Go 2, it is more exposed or brighter than on the Go 3. Now that I look at it, the Go 3 does look a bit sharper, and I think that may have to do with how much more bold the colors look to me for the Go 3. Like here it just looks more bold than it does here, and again that probably has something to do with the exposure. But yeah, they both do double exposure. I think they do it well. I did kind of cheat and use my wide Evo to give me an idea of what the double exposure would look like, but this is kind of how they turned out. Okay, here is another set of photos. This is very cool wall art in the Vibe District here in Virginia, and it's 6 Semper Tyrannis. And I actually just, it's one of my favorite murals here. And you can kind of see, I stood in the exact same spot, but you can kind of see some of the differences between the Go 2 and the Go 3. Again, the Go 2 is a bit brighter than the Go 3. The Go 3 also just looks a bit bolder with the colors. You can also see kind of that zoomed in look. So here, you can kind of see the entire mural for the most part. And here you can see some of it's kind of cut off and just a bit more zoomed in. But yeah, I think they both turned out well. I do like the color on the Go 3, and there's probably going to be a running theme with these photos is that I prefer the bolder, richer color of the Go 3 than I do the Go 2. Now this is a photo of me, a selfie that took in direct sunlight without the flash. And so here you can see again the zoomed in look. I look closer on the right with the Go 3. And then you can kind of see some glare here, which I think is kind of that lens flare that just another Chris mentioned due to the lens not being as recessed in the Go 2 as it is in the Go 3. Does it look sharper? I don't know if it's sharper or if it's just the colors are bolder, but you can definitely see like my hair looks blacker here than it does here. My skin tone looks a little bit richer here. The glasses look a bit richer and bolder, so you can kind of see them lined a bit better than you can in the Go 2. But again, I think that's more so the exposure piece than necessarily the sharpness piece. You can see again more of my eyes here than you can here, but yeah, this is just an example. So this one was surprising to me, and this is a selfie photo in the sun. You see I'm cheesing real hard here, but the Go 2 I think handled it better than the Go 3, which is surprising because the Go 3 has a lower exposure due to its f-stop. And so here I'm blown out, but here I'm like really blown out. And part of it, I wonder, is it due to the stronger flash and the zoomed in look? But yeah, you can see I almost look white here. You can still kind of see some of the brownness in the melanin here, but yeah, here I'm like pretty blown out. Ignore the artifacts, it's just kind of part of the Polaroid Go film. And again, you can see the zoomed in look of my face here and not so zoomed in here. With this flash, you can see more of my locks, like they're more differentiated than I think you can here. But in this one, I actually prefer the Go 2 just because I am not as overexposed as I am in the Go 3. So here is a selfie without a flash with like the setting sun. So the background is actually not as bright as it looks here. I'll try to see if I have the footage from my meta glasses so you can kind of see what it actually looks like. But here I think maybe the Go 3 looks a little sharper, but I can't really tell even like blown up size on my screen. One of the problems I have when I shoot in low light is I forget to like pause a bit longer to not move the camera while I was taking the photo. That's just a bad habit I have. But I mean, the photos are fine for the situation they're in. You can see that on the Go 2, I am brighter, a little bit more exposed than I am in the Go 3. And again, that's most likely due to the fact that the Go 2 has a lower baseline f-stop than the Go 3 does. So this is kind of the same lighting situation. I literally just turned the flash on. So for the Go 2, I definitely do think the Go 3 looks sharper in this image or in this like comparison than the Go 2 does. Like here, I feel like the glasses and my face is kind of blurry. And then with the Go 3, I definitely feel like it is sharper. Color wise, I feel like in this one, it's a little cooler here than it is here on my forehead. But overall, the flash definitely helps. I will say that. But I do think this is one of those instances where the Go 3 does look sharper than the Go 2. So here's an example of me not pausing long enough to like let the camera fully take a photo. But I tried to get photos of some of the rides at the little Carnival fair I saw. And so pretty much standing in the same spot, but I moved. You can probably see here, oops. I moved, and so this looks blurry here, and the sky's kind of blown out. But yeah, these are the two. I can't really compare the sharpness for this. I'd probably say this one is a bit sharper, probably because I moved before I should have with the Go 3. But yeah, not the best photo. I don't necessarily know if this is a great comparison, but I just wanted to show you the photo. At the Norfolk Botanical Garden, this is just one of like the monuments in the Japanese garden. And so you can see again, the Go 2 kind of not overexposes, but is brighter than the Go 3. You can also see kind of the zoomed in look. I do like the Go 3. Again, I'm big on vibrant colors, so you can definitely see more vibrant color in this photo. Trying to see kind of the lighter stone. I don't really see a sharpness difference between the two, more so that you can actually see more of the color, and maybe that's why it looks a bit sharper. So these photos are of one of the mermaid statues in Norfolk. Norfolk has a lot of like random mermaid statues. I think that's a thing for the city. Again, I think you can definitely see the color richness difference between the two. Like the green looks greener here than it does here to me. You can see the zoomed in look. I basically didn't move, but this is a kind of a closer shot than this one here. I'm trying to see. I almost feel like the Go 2 has a sharper view of the foliage here than it does here. This gets kind of muddy, while this kind of really stands out to me. Even the leaves look a bit sharper, and maybe they look sharper because you can see more detail because it's more exposed than it is in this one. So yeah, I don't necessarily know. I feel like the Go 2 looks a bit sharper than the Go 3, but I do prefer the Go 3's color compared to the Go 2. So this is out in the Virginia Beach area, and this is like a store, and the storefront, or one of the storefronts, is like a giant lighthouse. So I kind of stood in the same position and didn't move, but this is a good example of being able to see the difference between the zooms, or like the focal length of the cameras. Here you can see the entire lighthouse for the Go 2, but the Go 3 you can't. It crops it in or zooms in and you kind of lose the top of it. However, you do kind of get what I'm assuming is a lens flare for the Go 2, because you see how it kind of looks hazy and kind of blown out here. While on the Go 3, it just looks solid all the way through. Again, I do prefer the richer colors of the Go 3. Going back to the Japanese garden, you're looking at kind of this koi type pond here. Again, this is a difficult lighting situation for an instant camera, because you have a lot of darkness back here and like shadow and even here in the water, but then you have like this giant bright spot, so the camera metering is not the best. But again, you can see the richer colors here in the Go 3, which is what I really enjoy, but they both are kind of overexposed in the highlight region. But I do think I prefer the Go 3 just due to the color richness and like the vividness of this photo as opposed to the Go 2. So this is one of the water fountains at the botanical garden, and again, I feel like I'm being a dead horse, but yes, you can see a more rich and vivid color palette here for the Go 3 than the Go 2. You can also see kind of that cropped in look. With the brighter exposure, you do see a bit more detail in the fountain than I think you do in the Go 3. But the Go 3's lines, I think, are a little richer, deeper, and a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like thrilled with either of these photos. But again, as always, I prefer the richer colors over the less saturated ones. So this is another difficult lighting situation for an instant camera. Again, you have like a lot of darkness and shadows around this fountain that's in the water. And then you have the fountain water and just the water kind of blown out or really highlighted. So I do think that the Go 3 handles this one better than the Go 2 does, as you can see just by kind of, again, the richness of the colors, but just the overall exposure. Like there's less blown out subject matter in this photo than there is here. Like here, you can barely see the fountain. You lost a lot of the sky. I mean, you lost the sky here too in the Go 3, but more so you lost like the trees in the background. They're just kind of blown out and you can't really see as much detail as you can in the Go 3. Here is another example of where I think the Go 3 is sharper looking than the Go 2. I think you can see more of the flower petal details in the Go 3 than you can in the Go 2. I also think like the leaves are a bit more outline and distinguishable in the Go 3 than in the Go 2. And again, part of that may also be due to the fact that the Go 3 generally exposes at a lower level than the Go 2, and so the leaves aren't as blown out in the Go 3 as they are in the Go 2. So this is me inside my car as I was leaving the fair carnival area, and it's like not pitch black outside, but it's pretty dark outside, so it looks pitch black for an instant camera. Again, the Go 3 zoomed in on my happy smiley face, and the Go 2 is a little bit further zoomed out. I do think it does look a bit sharper here for the Go 3. However, the Go 2 I think gives you a little bit more exposure, and it may be due to the zoomed inness of the Go 3. Like you can't see my shirt with some of the white writing, so it just looks like I'm kind of a floating head in this photo. But yeah, I do think the Go 3 is a bit sharper. I'm trying to see, you can't really see my hair in either. Maybe a little bit of my hair in the Go 2, but not really. So yeah, neither photo is great. If you are doing a selfie in the dark, I wouldn't, because you're gonna lose. You're just gonna be a floating head. But I would maybe go with the Go 2 just because it frames a bit wider, so you have a better chance of, maybe getting your shirt so you don't look like just a floating head in your photo. So this is a bonsai tree at the garden, and so with the Go 2, again, exposure wise, you can see it's like really, really bright, and the tree, the top of it is almost a bit overexposed. Then with the Go 3, it's actually darker, but you get more detail of the leaves in the tree. Now, which one do I like of these two? I honestly probably prefer the Go 2 just because I can see more of the bonsai tree, but I do like the detail of the Go 3. And with this one, I'm almost curious if the flash even went off on the Go 3 because it looks really dark, and I would assume there would be more flash, like it would have better exposed this photo. Maybe I have to go back and take this one again just to see if it changes with the Go 3. So at the garden, there's this cool like chess set, and so of course I had to take a picture of the Black Queen. So with the Go 2, again, brighter, more exposed. The black doesn't look as rich as the black does in the Go 3. You can see the Go 3 is a bit more cropped in. The coloring is also a bit bolder and almost a bit warmer. Like to me, and it might be due to the heat as well, but to me, this looks a bit pinkish, while this one looks more like green and more natural, or how it actually looked. I do wish I would have framed, well, no, they're pretty well framed, kind of. Maybe more dead center so you can get kind of the piece on the both sides. But overall, I think I like the Go 3 better just due to the richness and being able to see like more of the green in the background as opposed to the pinkish look of the Go 2. So this is me attempting to do a backlit photo. The problem with this one was I didn't angle the camera well, or the cameras well, and so it's really more so like me in the sun, but like not the sun beaming down on me, but more like the sun above and kind of behind me. So for this one, the color on the Go 2 actually looks richer here than it does in the Go 3 because these were taken with a flash. So I think I look more brown here than I do here. You can kind of see the strength of the flash by how much more of my eyes you can see in the Go 3 than the Go 2. My hair also, you can see more detail in my hair, but it also looks less rich than my hair does in the Go 2 photo. But again, you can kind of see some of the differences in the green and the grass on the ground, but also in the trees. Like I think you can definitely see more rich green in the trees here than you can here. But yeah, like I said, I just look a bit blown out in this photo here. Well, maybe not. Yeah, maybe a bit more exposed, not necessarily blown out, than I do in this photo. If I had to pick, I think I would actually go with the Go 2 here, just because I like the richer tone of my skin in this photo than I do in this one. So in this one, I'm in the shade, taking a selfie with a flash. And so, of course, you can see kind of the zoomed in differences, but I do like how the Go 3 handled this one over the Go 2. I think the Go 3 did a better job of not overexposing or blowing out my skin. Here you can kind of see the richness in my skin. Here you can still see some of the richness, but it's not as vibrant as the Go 3. I think my hair also looks a bit blacker than it does in the Go 2. And I think you can see my teeth like a little bit more clearly than the Go 2. The Go 2 just kind of blows out my teeth and like my t-shirt. With the Go 3, you can still see a little bit more detail, I think you can, than in the Go 2. But yeah, this is, me in the shade with the flash on. So, should you upgrade? Upgrade to the Go 3 if you shoot a lot of portraits and selfies, if you're looking for sometimes sharper looking images, if you shoot outdoors in bright light and get washed out results, or, let's be real, you really like the two-tone purple look. Stick with the Go 2 if you prefer the wider field of view for landscapes and group shots, you already love your Go 2 photos and don't mind a sometimes softer look, or you don't want to deal with buying a separate USB-C cable. If you're buying your first Go camera, I recommend getting the Go 3. The improvements, though not always noticeable, are there, and if you're starting fresh, there's no real reason to buy the older model unless you find it at a significant discount. Now, before I wrap this all up, I want to hear from you, especially if you own the Go 2. Are you upgrading? Are you sticking with what you got? Drop it in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious where people are landing on this. Alright, so bottom line, the Go 3 is not a revolutionary upgrade, but it is a meaningful one. You've got a somewhat sharper lens, you've got a faster shutter speed, you've got a stronger flash, and you've got a zoomed in lens. These are all nice things, and something that makes it a little bit different from the Go 2. The Go 2 is still a perfectly good camera. If you're happy with it, don't let anyone, including me, convince you that you need to spend money on the Go 3. But if you've been frustrated by maybe soft photos or overexposure and bright lights, the Go 3 may actually address some of those issues. Either way, Go Film is still Go Film. Tiny, imperfect, and absolutely charming. And that part doesn't change no matter which camera you're holding. If this comparison helped, tap the like button so more instant photography people can find it. Until next time, keep practicing, keep having fun, and I'll see you in the next video.